like get clean through that before they let you in. And there's John and Joe from engineering showing us how to operate a fire extinguisher. The pass method. Pass means pull the pin, aim the thing at the fire, squeeze a little thing that the foam comes out, and the final S is sweep the base. Sweep the base of the fire, yeah. And there, that final picture is me using that skills against a simulated fire. Kind of like a video game. You can't really see it, but it's when I'm there doing it. Tasks I've learned this year, I enjoyed doing this year. My first work rotation, I was on the nursing floors, delivering water to the patients and collecting spread in all the different departments. I was in the ED. My second department, cleaning and taking wheelchairs to the correct locations. And the third department, I was drum mopping floors and cleaning touch points. As you probably saw earlier in the presentation. Here's some pictures from me throughout the departments. There, the first one is me getting ready to deliver water to a few patients. Love doing that, and they love seeing me every day. There's me doing a little room check, which I really didn't get to do much in the ED because I was so busy. There's me doing a little air oxygen tank for the thing. And there's me making a gallon packet for LSU for patient surgery. Work for Ellen this year. I am dependable. I haven't missed a day of project search. Effort. I put a lot of effort into my work, especially drum mopping the chairs, the tables, the ED, in your court. Enthusiastic. I come to work each day with positive attitude and ready to learn. You guys can probably guess that already.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lifelong independent skills. I learned how to use the private transit survey system, which Nicole already told you about. I have practiced interview skills, creating a resume, planning a budget, understanding net pay and gross pay. And gross pay is not gross because it's I work best with checklists and a good routine, understandable schedule. Next slide, please. Some job tasks, jobs I've applied for and interviewed for this year back in April and May. I applied and interviewed for community aid. I interviewed that on the that was my first interview on the way back in April on Earth Day. I applied for Target or Home Depot. Lowe's, I interviewed for that back in late April or March. I applied for interstate maintenance. I'm going through the background checks for that as we speak. For Littlestown for the custodian position. So, yeah,
For you.
I'm really excited about it.
And here are some of the businesses throughout our community that have employed our project search interns over the last 10 years. So, Medical College, I mentioned a lot, was 7. Littlestown, we've hired 4. This year, one of our interns got hired a green container. So, it's really nice to see that we have a lot of support in the community.
And our intern got hired in environmental services at the hospital. You guys want to hear a quick joke or two?
Always up for a good joke, Christian.
Thanks. Okay, so first one. Want to hear a construction joke?
Oh, yeah, I want to hear that.
Sorry, I'm still working on it. One more?
One more.
Why did the zombie go to the mall? He didn't want to be caught dead with the latest fasten.
Good job.
So thank you, everyone. So that's just part of the wonderful things we do. And Judy and Eric gave up most most of their time for me tonight. So I want to thank them for a great presentation, and there's also a supervisor from the IU here to share and to be involved in all the great things we do. So, thank you.
Kristen, you graduated this year, did you not?
Graduated from, are you talking about the Project Church?
No, from Littlestown.
I graduated officially from Littlestown at 2023. So about 2 years. I've been out officially out of regular school.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, guess Dr. Miller, you're on to stuff.
Sorry. Moving on.
All right, Dr. Miller, you're up. Thank you.
Nice to see you all. See you all.
No report.
Okay.
Go too long.
All right. You were serious? Okay. You know, you're calling tonight.
We said, hey, we're gonna go.
That was nice of you.
Mine's super short, because I did tell Caroline, I'm like, we can have our time. Just that we're closing up the end of the school year, starting to ramp up already for next school year. The principals and I had our first of several summer workshops that we're going to have throughout the summer, really making sure that we have a great start to the next school year, working on a variety of things, which you'll see. So that's my report.
Eric, you got the financial?
No, we didn't get that.
Oh, you didn't switch that part? Okay, Eric. Okay.
So the financial report for this month is mostly going to revolve around transportation and the budget. That's what the finance committee met about last week, and that was the main topic was transportation and the contract. Because that's a big impact this year for the school district and how that's going to impact the budget. So you'll see two different types of budgets, one with or without a contract or service for transportation. As always, you'll have on here the homestead farmstead. We went through that before. What the exclusion will show is how much per home value will drop down. And then we talked about the 6.1% or $6.1 million transfer as needed. That'll be officially in the board action here for June to take place throughout next school year, as well as pending audit. So if anything, have it on there for pending audit for next year. If we want to transfer any surplus that we may or may not have to capital reserve, that needs to be on there as a placeholder and when that happens. Generally, that comes back to the finance committee at our October or November meeting, and then the timing of the audit. Other than that, I think it's just going to be the conversation around transportation. We had a very in-depth conversation at finance committee, and we went back to the price. From that, had some additional negotiations, which is reflected on this agenda and for review tonight. So we'll save some any questions or comments for that when we get to it.
Not seeing Michelle?
Nope, no athletics update tonight. Just thanking Mrs. Young for,
All right, on to the regular agenda. Stephen, start off with you.
Yep. As Tom mentioned, we have two resolution of budgets, final year. There's two proposals that reflect the options of in-house bus transportation in the first budget and the outsourced bus transportation in the second. It's just two different forms, as Tom indicated. The difference in price is an additional $195,169 for the outsourced transportation. The district has conversed about outsourcing transportation since January of this year. Recent discussion at the committee level has shown staying in-house the areas of concern are keeping the drivers, cost of maintaining the current fleet, which is aging, and the questions before us, the issues of maintaining an in-house fleet versus the increased cost of outsourcing. The contract before us is the outsourcing to provide security and employment for current employed drivers with competitive pay rates, maintenance and legal requirements of the fleet that are taken care of. The administration of all routes will remain in control of the district, and we asked for change in the proposal, which Tom made mention of, considering from a 7-year proposal to a 5-year with a 5-year renewal. Do you have any questions?
But that's technically A and B, you sort of roll those two into one.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Well, I have a question. What is the current daily rate for the substitute drivers that we pay?
I just asked that, I didn't have time to pull that due to some technical issues, but I can, provide that tomorrow, to the board, I don't have it on hand at the moment.
Okay, that's fine.
Laura, now, maybe? No, that's when I was trying to look it up.
Yeah,
No.
but
Can you do that, Laura? Thank you.
And then the next question I have, okay, is this out, are we gonna have to raise taxes for this at all?
Well, there will be operational costs.
Right.
Overall, as you can see. And eventually, at some point, when we use up all of our savings, or we use up so much, we have to make that determination not just on transportation, but on all costs. So I don't necessarily know that it's fair to say, are we gonna have to raise taxes because of transportation ever? Because forever is a long, long
Right,
time.
sure. In the foreseeable future, but it's definitely gonna be more cost effective to outsource it, it looks like, than keeping it in-house.
I think it makes a better work opportunity for our employees, which we work very hard to make sure that if the board were to approve this, our employees would be well taken care of.
Does this reflect the, going back to them getting that order?
The changes. Any other questions?
I do.
Sure.
My concerns on this subject is this. I continue to support no tax increase, I really do. However, I'm really concerned about the projected estimated deficit exceeding $2.5 million, $2.6 million that's been discussed in the past, in some of the meetings that I've been sitting in. Without moving the 3.2 million, it leaves us vulnerable unless this board can convince me without a doubt that we're going to have a surplus come November. So we're going to be all right. I don't know if anybody can do that at this point without a audit.
Is your question there?
Yeah, the question is, should we move forward with this budget the way it is, considering that we have not moved the 3.2 million? That's the question I want to ask. Back out of capital project. And the other question is, and Tom, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but it has been said by you that we were, in the beginning, that we were 2.5 million to 2.6 million in a deficit, projected. Are we still at that point, in your opinion, or do you foresee in the future us having a surplus, in your opinion?
like I've always said, I don't predict that because of how the audit conducts. We find that out throughout July and August, and then that's provided to the board in the opportunity in October when we meet at FDS. So when that happens, when we find out if and when a surplus happens, I meet with the finance committee and we allocate any surplus to the, I guess, any general fund or capital reserve for that discussion. And then it shows up on the board agenda for official approval at that time.
I would say, Mr. Sullivan, as far as any deficit that we have, Mr. Schodebaker budgets on what he absolutely knows for
Correct.
certain we will receive. Any time the state doesn't provide their budget to us in advance, we don't know what we are guaranteed to receive. So we will always budget for that, what is considered hold harmless, that we will have from the state to be able to move forward. The state often comes through at different times and provides some additional funding, but to speculate and guarantee what that will be would really be foolish, I believe.
Oh,
So-
no, I'm not asking you.
So that's why you will always see a deficit between our revenues and our expenditures.
On the 3.2 million, that was moved specifically for the facility grant that we received from the state. That's essentially our portion to keep us capital reserve, quote unquote, operational when that grant, that large sum of money for the grant moves forward, we still have capital needs post that grant. So that was kind of a one-for-one transfer to make that happen without overextending those capital reserve funds.
And wasn't that a 500,000 grant? That wasn't any more than that.
Correct, so we got 500,000 for the state for the high school, 500,000 for your ACES. But we had a portion about what we submitted as projects, for the scope of the project. And remember that changed, it originally was supposed to be 75-25 from the state, they kind of flipped it, and now it's 75 from the district, 25 from them. So our 75% is around that 3.2, until we would go out and get official numbers. That's kind of the placeholder of what the estimation.
And Mr. Schofinger, when we did that, did we not scale back that work that we had planned?
So
Which was originally to offset the areas that we couldn't reach or couldn't afford in the building project?
So we scaled back significant portions of the high school, that lower level, and then here at ACES, we did the roof replacement. We paused that for future time. We weren't doing the HVAC one-to-one replacement, not the roof replacement along with it. So we did scale back and efforts to mitigate some of those, but that 3.2 was specifically moved for that. So I just don't want to, if the board would choose to move it back, we would have to basically re-look at that grant and what we could or couldn't do in the scope of that.
Well, I think the question for you is this. I'm worried that we're self-insured for health insurance, correct? Correct. That is an unknown. And I've seen bills for dental, I've seen everything, and I'm sitting here thinking, how do we know what we're going to spend, and are we going to be okay?
We do have fund balance earmarked for those occasions.
Because I know Carl brought it up in a previous meeting in the cafeteria, and he's right. I'm concerned about tech, that we were self-insured.
Yeah. Mr. Sullivan, one of the things that we also do is we meet with our insurance brokers to review that data every year and make sure that we do have enough in that fund to make sure that we can provide for our insurance needs.
Several times.
Several times a year. Yes.
To answer the question, the daily rate for the sub is approximately $341. Any other questions on those, Joy?
Oh, one more question on ACTI. Are we dropping the funding on ACTI through this? Or are we still going to fund it?
We're still funding.
Right.
No, I know, but we're not funding it
I would say
fully.
right now, it's just the 1% that was raised last year, the 180,000 in this budget, scope of this budget.
Yeah, so instead of the 360,
Correct.
we're only going to have another 180. Is that going to put us in a bad position? I don't know what ACTI, I don't know what's going to come in the future. I really don't. Yeah, none of us
I think
know.
ACTI is working through some plans, and I believe that we can get that information here shortly for the upcoming school year. So I believe that there will be more information that will come from ACTI regarding anything that they're doing, I would say probably around August or September or something.
That'd be great. Thank you for telling me that.
Any other questions on A or B?
What do we have as the difference between these two budgets?
We had $195,000.
All attributable to the transportation?
No, remember we talked about the autism classroom and the iPad cycle and the general liability insurance, along with transportation.
Between A and B.
Between A and B, yes. Yes, because some of the revenue won't be pushed through until the following. So some of it's anticipated revenue that also isn't shown. We talked about that. We showed some of that revenue we'll see, review some of that over the time through insurance coming off. But right now we have full insurance we put in there until and when we come off.
Insurance is like £10,000.
So some of those tick markers we show that once we're done and this will be approved through, we got the 7 steps. Some of that's going to be the transition that happens over several months when we do this.
This is gonna cost us almost $200,000 before next year, because it's staying in-house.
transition, some of that will come back to us. So right now, for the budget, we have to have, we show in a certain manner the way the budget works.
What about the transportation reimbursement policies? Did I recall or anything about that?
That won't be for the following, because they're always 1 year behind. So we're gonna have a transportation reimbursement next year based on current service, this year's current service.
Tom, can you clarify one thing that I heard you say there in this meeting? You twice said unemployment comp. Did you mean workman's comp?
No,
Unemployment comp, okay, so you meant what you said.
Yeah.
And you said that was an additional insurance to the district?
That would be additional charge to the district.
When they go to price, they go on unemployment insurance, that, we're paying that.
For a certain, for a set time period, correct.
We pay all of it this summer and about half of it next summer.
Up until calendar year.
And that cost is included in that figure, 35,
It is,
so that's why you see such.
all the costs that plus and minus in that grid are coming through